Let's get into it. Sold Not For Sale podcast. Coach Colin here. Let's get right into it. We got someone who I admire so much when I have live podcasts that I'm doing, which is going to happen at least in the next 12 months. I want this guy to perform on my show so badly. He is so good at impressions. His name's Tyler Fisher. I don't know if you know this guy. Great comedian, hilarious on social media. Check this guy out. He's on JRE. I'm very happy about that. He moved to Texas. I'm extremely happy about that. And in this clip, they are talking about the wokeness of San Francisco, and then they're touching on his past with the LGBTQ IA 649 AB 429 CIA plus. And the reason that he has that background is because his father came out as gay when he was very, very young. So he has been in touch with that community for a very long time. Grandfather, father, his brother. He has a lot of family that's in that community. So listen to this clip. Just to give you some context right now, he's saying that in the Texas heat, he's starting to understand Biden a little bit more because he's been walking around very disoriented, not knowing where he's going, and essing in his pants, trying to swear less on this show now. Anyways, guys, let's get right into this clip.
Ha, yeah. You silly boy. Did you, I was telling you before this mayoral race in San Francisco, this might be the end. This might be, like, San Francisco is a failed city. I mean, it really is. But there's no better indication of how failed it is than listening to this debate, listening to these people argue about what's important in San Francisco. This was on the Jesse Waters show. You gotta listen to this.
How many drag queens do you know?
You were at the debate last week and couldn't name any drag queens on your own. I was wondering if you this is an opportunity to redeem yourself. And if you could name 3 LGBTQ advisors for your campaign and 3 drag queens in San Francisco.
Just imagine.
Shut the fuck up.
And that was the thing she was going to sit down on. This is the actual current mayor of San Francisco, London Breed. That's
London
her, right?
Breed.
Yeah. And she's like, can you name 3 drag queens? Can you name 3 mentally ill men who dress up like the most tartish, caricaturous?
Like famous or just like Pixie that does the kid's story hour down at the library?
Lexus, yeah. Lexus down at the club. She does the burlesque show. What the fuck are you talking about?
Yeah. No, sit back and enjoy. Sit back and enjoy the show. When wokeism just takes on this energy and it gets crazier and crazy. I mean, look at the sexuality acronym. It used to be gay and lesbian, GL. Right. It is, watching politicians have to recite that. Oh, it's like
Trudeau's
they have a gun to their head.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Trudeau has them all down. But my favorite is 2AI plus.
Plus. 2S.
Plus is like everybody's in this gang that's not a white male. it's basically
You mean the
everything.
American flag? That would be a great flag to represent everybody.
Biracial, people of color. Like, there's so many different things. Indigenous. There's two-spirits in there, which is my favorite.
Yeah.
I'm a two-spirit.
Yeah.
Like, what the fuck are you?
Why not 3? Why not 4? Why not 45?
You're limiting yourself. And then A, which is hilarious too, because how do they have any say? They're asexual.
Asexual.
Like, how are they in there with the perverts? How are they in there with the freaks? How are they in there with the transgender people?
Yeah.
How are they in there with fucking guys wearing leather thongs and G-strings walking down the street with
They're like, we don't want
pride
any
flags?
part of this.
How are the A's in that? They just don't want to fuck.
My friend came out as bisexual, this guy in New York, and he goes, well, I've been so oppressed. I'm like, am I supposed to feel bad that you get to fuck everybody? Really? Just like,
He's been oppressed, how so?
I don't know. I don't know. I
Well,
mean,
isn't that
how
fun?
are you
It's a
oppressed?
fun thing to say.
It's a fun thing to say.
Yeah, and it also gives you like a position where people have to go, oh my God, I'm so sorry. What did I do?
George Bush was like talking about pride the other day, and I was like, he was on some interview, and I was like, if he was president today, having to, the LMAFOs, the HGTVs, the PB&Js, these are tasty folks, My cousins are translucent. Now watch this drive. But think about how much has changed since him.
Well, he is so reasonable now in compare. I used to have a joke about Bush getting elected, about the Iraq War, and that there's people in the back of the room, and their idea was the only way to find out how dumb people really are is to have a dumb president and see if everybody freaks out. Because the only way they know that he's dumb is if they're smarter than him.
Yeah.
So the only way to find out is put a dumb president and see how everybody responds. And then it was all about the Iraq War, and then all these things happened, like what they believed. And then at the end of it, I think the people in the back of the room are going, I think we can go dumber.
Yeah.
And they were right.
Yeah.
They were so right.
Well, people act like Trump and Biden are the first win. We had an autistic cowboy running the country for 8 years. We wanted 8 years of that.
Yeah. Yeah, but people didn't want it at the end, which is why Obama won.
Yeah.
Which is what this country always does. We swing hard one way and then we swing the other way. And Duncan Trussell said this when they were smashing windows and looting during the George Floyd protests. Duncan said, dude, this is going to be so bad because we're going to have a right-wing authoritarian president next. And I thought about it. I was like, God damn, he's probably right. Because that's really what happens. There's like an overcorrection one way, and like the San Francisco London breed mayor thing. This is an overcorrection to discrimination. So there is some discrimination of gay people. There's discrimination of all kinds of people.
How now, though?
There's still with gay people for sure. There's still people that are homophobic, especially religious people.
It's too complicated now because it's like, well, there's that, and then there's gay guys who dress up as women who want to read to kids, and then there's those who cut their dicks. It's too. My dad came out of the closet when I was 7, so I was raised in this stuff. He came out as racist, but no, he's gay. I got a gay dad. I have two dad, mom remarried, and then my dad with a husband. And so it's funny. I try to talk about this, like, well, shut up, straight white guy. This isn't your lived experience. I'm like, no, it is. It is.
Do you say this on stage? Do you talk about it on stage?
I talk about it everywhere. Yeah, people started booing me when I started talking about this in New York City a long time ago. It was the first time where I talked about my personal life because I have everyone has a crazy life.
What were they booing?
Well, they're just like, you can't talk about, that's their life. You can't talk about what it's like to be a gay person. And it's like, when I was 7, I was hiding it from my friends. So I was living like a closeted gay guy. Oh. I went to insane lengths to hide my dad having a boyfriend because this was 1993. That's when it was, and prior, that's when it was bad. But I imagine what guys like that think of what's going on now. To be like, you're like a two-spirit, hetero, whatever the shit is.
Yeah.
And back then it was bad. But
when I was in middle school, my friend Josh, his mom was gay, and he didn't tell us. And nobody talked about it, but
lesbian mom's a little cooler, though.
She had the whole thing. Like, she was wearing the sleeveless vest with the big arms. She was a big lady, and she had a girlfriend with short hair that was always over the house. It was like the whole, like, you'd go, who's that lady? Oh, that's my mom's friend. Why is she always over here? Did she live with you?
That's exactly what happened.
It was one of them things.
Yeah.
But I lived in San Francisco. And so when I moved to Boston, I moved to Florida for a few years, then we moved to Boston. Like, I had been around gay people from the time I was 7 to 11. Like, my neighbors were gay. My aunt used to go over and play bongos with them naked. They would smoke pot and play bongos. I remember. So I was
just way cooler.
Yeah, I mean, she just loved the fact she could just be naked around guys and no one cared. But it was just this thing where, like, the whole neighborhood was gay. Everybody was gay. So gay was super normal to me. So my friend was, like, hiding the fact that his mom was gay. We never really pressed him on it. But me and my other friend were like, his mom's gay, right? Like, oh, yeah, obviously. But, we were 13. Like, what are you going to do?
For men, I think it was associated with AIDS. Ooh. So I remember I was in the car. And, we would, like, raise money for AIDS runs and all this stuff. And my friend's like, that's the AIDS thing, right?
Yeah.
And I would tell him, my dad's an attorney. I would tell him, because he goes, this is my partner. And I would tell my friends, they go, why is your dad's partner sleeping over? That's his law partner. I go, they're working on a case. They're going to be up all night, fellas. If you hear some banging and moaning and they're recreating the murder, they're in there. I would come up with this. It's probably why I'm a good writer, because I back then it was not accepted at all.
When did everybody figure it out?
I never told anybody.
Wow.
Yeah, I think I was in college the first time I told somebody because I was a theater major, so it was like I was safe.
Yeah.
I was the weird one being
and
straight.
It also gives you, like, social props.
It does, yeah.
Street cred.
Yeah, I'll take whatever I can get now. When you got resting January 6th face, man, you need something.
Do you think you have January 6th? Well, you do with that hat.
Resting January 6th face. Yeah. I don't know. I don't care. I was raised to hate America. All that bullshit. I fucking love this country, man.
It's a great country.
I love it.
There's no reason to hate America.
No.
We should always hate bad behavior in all groups of people, left and right. Shitty, evil people on both sides. That's what we're supposed to hate. We're not supposed to hate America.
And the history, it's history. You got to honor it. Even like the stuff growing up with my dad and stuff. I had a lot of resentment about that, but I thought, you know what? That was my burden to bear. And I have friends who saw my, gay was bad back then, but they'd see my dad being a great dad and cooking us dinner. And so their introduction to a homosexual was this normal guy. My dad, he looks like you. Looks like kind of like Bruce Willis and fucking, he's just a normal dude.
That's good to hear, man. Very interesting, because if you hear this guy stand up, he's constantly making fun of Biden. He does a great Trump impression. He does a good Fauci impression. Like he does so many good impressions around the political spectrum. He's solid. So to hear that about his dad, that's very interesting. You know, a fun fact. 1993, around the same time, my mom became a bodybuilder, and I thought she might be gay. I was like, mom gay, because she was lifting she got jacked, and I was like, is she? And she was like working out with some other chick that had short hair. I was like, what's going on? But now I go to the gym all the time, and I'm like, oh, I get it. You need a gym partner, and you get jacked together, and yeah, I get it. But it was I remember back then I was a little kid, and I was like, I'm not gonna ask, because you didn't ask. I don't know about you. I don't know how you grew up. You didn't ask your parents that type of thing. Because it just would have been mushroom right across the face. My tattoo, of course. But let's get into it. Very interesting stuff. I just want to say right off the bat, they bring up Bush. What do you guys think? I remember talking with my friend before I knew much about politics. I remember my friend being like, Obama is the worst president we've ever had. And he was early on this, way before other people. My buddy Hank, shout out to Hank, taught me almost everything I know about politics. And then I grew this channel and learned a lot more. But I was like, you think he's worse than George Bush? And he's like, yes. He's like, yeah. Because he knew about Saul Alinsky. He knew that Obama had this admiration for Saul Alinsky. He understood what was happening. He saw the divide before people were talking about him being the great divider. He saw it all. So he was just like, yeah, he's way worse for the country. And I was like, oh, my buddy just must not like black people. I'm like, he's the black one. He's the greatest. And now I'm like, yeah, I think, next to it's him or Biden. It's really a toss-up, because Biden probably hasn't caused as much division. Obama caused a astounding amount of division, like race-wise, because he had a little more power race-wise because he actually was black. So he had the ability to cause a little more division. Biden does it, but he mostly just focuses on MAGA versus non-MAGA people. That's as much as he can do. And he tries to do the black-white thing a little bit, but he can't do it like Obama. So it's like, it's a toss-up between the two. But I wonder, because they're talking about George Bush like he was very much the dumb one, the dumb person. But I don't know. Like Obama was smooth, talked real smooth, but in terms of what he did, man, I'm sorry. I know there's some black people watching, and they're like, oh, how could you say that? How could you say that about Obama? I don't know. And then talking about Duncan talking about a right-wing authoritarian government taking over. I got to take that with a grain of salt, because if you watch Duncan's episodes, if you really watch, because they're long episodes every time, it's always 3.5 hours with Duncan. Duncan is such a liberal. He's really liberal. He's way more liberal than Joe is willing to touch on when they're talking about government. And I think even Duncan knows not to let out how liberal he is. Like, I think I don't know him, never met him. I think he might be a socialist, just based on hearing him talk about certain things. He's definitely not conservative. And then amazing that this guy got booed over having a gay dad, because he's a straight white male and you don't get to talk about their lived experience. That's not your lived experience. How ridiculous is that? All right, let's touch on some things that they brought up in the episode. Justin Trudeau, first off, Joe Rogan talked about how Justin Trudeau can barrel through the whole LGBTQ thing. Listen to this. This is how he started. This guy started from the bottom. Now he's here.
I will never apologize for standing up for an LGBTQ2 plus kids' rights.
You believe it or not, folks, that is the coolest thing Justin Trudeau's ever done. Bar none. Believe it or not. Everything else has been terrible. That is the coolest thing he did, was messing up that crazy acronym. He threw a D in there. Hey, he's not exactly wrong. You know what I mean? He's not fully wrong. He had the right idea. You know what I mean? That was the coolest thing he did. Then a couple of years later, he was like, that is never going to happen again. Okay, listen to this.
For everyone's rights in this country. Stand up for Muslim communities, stand up for 2S LGBTQI plus communities, stand up.
Whoa, hold on. Hit me again, Justin.
LGBTQI plus.
Wow.
Have you ever wanted to rule over the worst run city in America? Well, how many drag queens do you know?
You were at the debate last week and couldn't name any drag queens on your own. I was wondering if you could, this is an opportunity to redeem yourself. And if you could name 3 LGBTQ advisors for your campaign and 3 drag queens in San Francisco.
The San Francisco mayoral debate turning into the woke Olympics, while San Francisco just won the title of America's worst run city. How many drag queens can you name?
Probably 0. These people are not serious. I mean, I can't take them seriously. This problem in this city, they've got fentanyl addicts all over the streets. They've got major problems. You know who else thinks that the country's not being, or the city's not being run well? The people who live there. Because remember, back in March, they voted on 2 things: to give the police more powers, less paperwork, to use drones to go after crime. And they also voted that it is mandatory that people who are on welfare and suspected of using illegal drugs have to get drug treatment. I mean, the people of the city are desperate for help. This is not a right-leaning place that just voted overwhelmingly by more than 60% for these things. So the people who live there, including a woman who was on Fox and Friends First this morning, who used to be a fundraiser for President Obama, she lives there, says the city has gone to complete hell, and she's now a Trump person.
Wow.
Yay.
Wow. Good and bad. That is terrible. Can you imagine? And just, I'm pretty sure if I didn't, whatever, I think I just muted myself and then started talking, but I was just introing the clip that you just watched. So I'm sure you gathered that. And for those of you who don't even like to listen to me and just like the clips, there you go. Little something for everybody. Okay. But that is so sad. Can you imagine that you're in this situation that they're talking about, voting to give police more power, to get drones into action in regards to crime. And the person who's running for mayor, the people who are running for mayor, stand up. And I'm going to play his response because she just asked him how many drag queens that he knew and all that stuff. I'm going to play his response. But you see that one of the candidates is actually asking a question of, how many drag queens do you know? How many people are LGBTQIL 649 86 42 plus on your campaign? How many advisors do you have? That is terrible. Could you imagine that? You're hearing that? You're desperate. You have a friend down the street who got home invaded. You're hearing about all this crime. You were in a Walgreens that's now closed because it kept getting looted. And then they're asking that question. How furious would you be? Crazy. Could you imagine? This guy actually answers, I actually do know some drag queens. I know Michelle O, aka Big Back. Okay. I know Miss Sparkles, and I know Kitchi Kitchi Yaya. Okay. I actually do know some drag queens. That is not his response, though. As amazing as that would be, that's not his response. Listen to his response.
We're not gonna revise the drag queen question from last week. But what I will say is I'm incredibly proud of the support that I have from our LGBTQ plus community here in the San Francisco. Thank you. I have a former member of the Board of Supervisors, Jeff Sheehy, who is a close friend and a supporter of my campaign. I have a member of my staff, 2 members of my staff from the queer community here in the city of San Francisco that I won't dignify this question by actually naming exactly who they are. But what I will do is stand by my record in supporting our queer community here in the city of San Francisco. When I was a member of the Board of Supervisors, as a straight white male, I was the one who authored legislation to make sure that same-sex couples that work for the city of San Francisco,
Wow.
they were being taxed by our federal government for their health care benefits before same-sex marriage was legalized. I was the one who authored the legislation to make sure the city of San Francisco reimbursed those same-sex couples.
Can you imagine someone just stood up and just said, "It's complete chaos in California. Please get to the crime. Save us. Save us. I got robbed here. I came with 2 other people and a mob of people took them. I don't know where they are. Please, please stop talking about this topic. Get to the police. Can we have more police or not? Give them tanks, please." That's what should be happening. Absolutely ridiculous stuff, man. But yeah, I just wanted to get to that real quick. A very interesting episode. I'm about to bring you a whole lot more on that episode of the things that I found the most interesting throughout it. Again, his name is Tyler Fischer. How's Fisher spelled? Fisher is spelled Fischer. That guy is hilarious. I'm telling you. I don't have him on YouTube. I have him on Instagram. That's where I found him. The guy's hilarious. Go check his stuff out. If you like political comedy, and if you're here, I'm sure you do somewhat. Check him out. He's absolutely hilarious. Anyways, guys, I just wanted to bring you that. Let me know what you think about it in the comments. Like, subscribe, share. Helps the channel tremendously. Other than that, I'm out.